Thanks very much to Kerry for joining us there. And actually, Kerry talked about openness and honesty from brands about where they're at with sustainability in their journey now. And I'd love to turn to the panel who's with me again today. Hello. We enjoyed that, I think. And it feels like there's a vulnerability, if you like, in saying you need to be more sustainable or to do more or you're not doing enough. Has that ever come up in Paboco's journey, Michael?
Definitely. We pride ourselves by having a pretty clear idea of what we want to do in time. We want to be 100% bio-based. We want to be fully recyclable within the paper stream. And I can say that even with the product we have today, we're not there yet because we're part of taking an innovation journey together with the companies that we work with. And we try to be very upfront about that, saying we are early in our journey as well. We're trying to create something new, something that doesn't have a guidebook. So we want to be very upfront about where are the sore spots and where do we want to engage people from our community and from other levels of industry, even the users or the recyclers in our process. So it's not so much just being vulnerable, it's also open up for invitation. If you are honest about where your vulnerabilities are and you're early in the journey, you invite people to go along with you. And you mentioned that you've been very early right now in your industry, a year and a half before starting the path of sustainability. So you must meet some of these challenges as well.
Yeah, definitely. It was actually part of our initial communication about it that we wanted to do the little steps that we were able to do from the beginning and then get smarter, get more information on what are the next right steps to be taking. So we were very honest about that we don't know everything. We are in the start of our journey and we want to be get more information, become smarter in our journey, where we're going, to know more about what will be the next right step. But I think it takes some courage as well, right? For you as well, to open up and say, we don't know exactly where we're going, but we want to do this. Because you also open yourself up to criticism when you say that this is not perfect, but we want to get there.
No, definitely. A criticism, I think, is one part of it. Whenever we talk about making or impacting change, criticism is a natural part of that because we are exploring into a new field and there are some necessities for any industry that will always be in place. A product needs to be always used and we as humans are part of consumption within the world. So, like you say, and there's some non-starter questions. Why do we have festivals? Well, that's not an interesting question. The interesting question is how can we elaborate on the products that we will always need, packaging or medtech devices.
If I can just crack an internal joke that we have in the company. We're called Coloplast. We use plastic for our products. And again, back to we cannot completely move away from it because our users really need these products. But we have to acknowledge that we're still using virgin plastic for majority of our things. So, and this has been very honestly has been shared with everyone saying that is the reality of it. We also know that our users need the products. So where do we focus? How do we start to make this change? Packaging is, of course, the first thing that we had to focus on. That's a clear, you could say, direction we had to take. So that's where we're focusing on. But there's a lot more, given that we are still Coloplast.
I'm curious how this vulnerability could be quite overwhelming in some ways, especially for your users, but also you're a very large company. Was it 13,000 people, maybe more? That could be a little bit overwhelming to hear that there's more to be done. How do you counter that? How do you get people, whether it's a movement inwards or outwards or both, how do you get people on board with that?
I think, so as I said, I've been here for a year now, but what I have observed is they have wanted this for quite some time already. Our users have been asking for it, the amount of packaging they receive, whether they can do more with it. I mean, these are people with intimate healthcare needs and they want to work with sustainability or they want to do something. Then, of course, we have a responsibility. We have to do something for that. And then having talked to the number of people that I have now talked to during these Corona times, being able to go to office and actually talk and meet people, each and every one of them has said, what can we do in a smart way as well? because, and I use the word smart because designing these products, it takes, I mean, since we are in a design setting here, so it's important to mention that it's not straightforward because you have to keep in mind that the human body is different, you know, you're catering for things like that. So it's been like, people have really gotten creative in how do we do things. So I think that is it's been, if that answers the question, that's what's been driving us in that way.
It feels like there's a real kind of everyone's ready to roll their sleeves up and start trying to do
that's
something.
the feeling I've been getting.
What about football fans then, Anna? I mean, it would be an unfair assumption to say football fans, you know, would they care about sustainability? My guessing is they're all quite young and they really care.
Well, you're on the right track, I think, because it's a very normal, I should say, assumption that football fans, do they even care? I don't think so. But the reality is that, well, at least in Denmark, most of us are football fans or football interested or have kids that play football or whatever. So many people are involved with football. And to say that they shouldn't be interested or care about the environment or sustainability would just be, it's false. It's simply, I don't know, it's old school maybe. I think it's at least not right.
Old school narrative.
Old school narrative,
Something that's been drummed into us.
Yeah, kind of saying that it's a niche, that you can say something very specific about, that these people do not care about environmental stuff. It's not right, because it's so many people. You can't say anything, any one thing that is true about them. So, and at least also what I've experienced during this last year is that our fans, our community is interested and is engaged and do want to do good. It's not, maybe they don't know what to do, but then they look partly to the football club to say, okay, what can we do together? So that's just picking that up.
But that, I think, is a really interesting point coming from both sides here, that there is such a level of caring and involvement and from inside and outside the organization to know what do we need to do or what can we do. And showing vulnerability is a call to action in that regard. It is not in the past to put yourself just to critical acclaim, but it also helps to involve partners that you might not be aware are within your organization or external to it as well.
True.
Mm?
When you start talking about it, you open yourself up for the discussion.
Can I just say, I'm really curious. Being a sports fan myself,
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing, or the steps that you've started or initiated?
Yeah. Well, the steps that we did from the beginning was changing to 100% renewable energy as a power source. That was one thing. That's actually quite easy. That's maybe one of the few low-hanging fruits that we talk about all the time. Then we started a waste separation program within the stadium. So coming to the football game, you're asked to sort the waste on the way out in 4 different types of waste. And we changed the jersey to one made of recycled polyester. Because sports jerseys are from polyester, but we changed it into 100% recycled, and I think that's something that we'll see a lot more of, because that makes so much sense. What else did we do? Then we have changed some of our cars into electric cars and hybrid cars, and we are installing what is that called when you have your power from for your car?
Chargers?
Your chargers, yeah. Installing chargers in our parking lot very soon. So those are some of the, it seems like obvious things, but you have to kind of start doing them, right? Yeah. And then we right now working on the strategy plan for the coming years, where we are setting more goals, and we had our baseline measured just in the winter. So that was the first where we measured, and now we want to take that further. But concrete actions, those were maybe the 4 main ones.
It's really interesting that you've changed the shirts, what the shirts are made of, and the fans are wearing the shirts.
Exactly.
So actually, it's directly influencing the community.
Yeah.
I'd like to pause again. Sorry, I know we're just getting going, but I've got a lot to fit in today. Okay, let's take a moment to hear from the Index Project now, who of course are co-running this broadcast with Designit as well. The Index Project having their 9th cycle of their Index Awards next month. The biannual prize, which has been running since 2005, awards 5 different designs within the categories body, home, work, play and learning, and community. We mentioned earlier Paboco is a finalist, isn't it, Michael?
Exactly, yeah.
We're rooting,
Nice to be so.
we're rooting for you.